I never expected to walk into my home and find everything I believed in shattered in an instant. As I turned the key and stepped inside, I was greeted by an unexpected sight. Noah and Anya, wrapped in each other's arms, their laughter ringing in the air like a cruel joke. My heart raced, not from excitement, but from a deep, piercing pain. I stood frozen at the threshold, the world around me fading into a blur. "Maricabel, Noah stammered, his eyes wide with shock. But it was too late. The image burned in my mind, a vivid reminder of everything I now questioned. My marriage, my trust, my entire life felt like a fragile glass that had just been smashed to pieces. I could hardly breathe as disbelief washed over me. How could I have been so blind? Had I truly not seen the signs? "What's going on?" I managed to choke out, my voice barely above a whisper. Anger bubbled up within me, hot and fierce. The confusion was melting into rage, igniting a desire for revenge against the two people I had once trusted the most. Anya straightened up, her face a mask of feigned innocence. "Maricabel, it's not what it looks like." "Really? Because it looks pretty clear to me," I snapped back, my hands trembling at my sides. I wanted to scream, to throw something, to unleash the storm brewing inside me. But instead, I felt a cold clarity taking hold. How could I have missed this? What other lies had woven themselves into the fabric of my seemingly perfect life? I took a step back, my mind racing. I needed to think. I needed to plan. This betrayal wasn't just a flicker of anger. It was a wildfire consuming everything I thought I knew. "Maricabel, please," Noah pleaded, his voice desperate. But his words only fueled my fury. I turned away from them, the weight of betrayal heavy on my shoulders. I could feel the tears threatening to spill, but I refused to let them fall. Instead, I felt a new resolve forming within me. I would not let them get away with this. I would make them pay for their deceit. As I left the room, questions swirled in my mind like a chaotic storm. How could Noah, the man I loved, betray me so completely? And Anya, my supposed friend, how could she betray our trust for her own selfish desires? The thought of their shared laughter echoed in my ears, a haunting reminder of my shattered trust. Days turned into weeks, and the heartache settled in like a dark cloud I couldn't shake off. Sleepless nights became my routine as I transformed my pain into a burning desire for retribution. Each moment without sleep fed the fire inside me. I knew I had to gather evidence of Noah's infidelity. It became my mission. Every detail I uncovered twisted my heart with satisfaction, but it also filled me with moral conflict. Was I crossing a line I could never return from? Then I stumbled upon a revelation that shifted everything. Anya's motives weren't just about desire. She had been plotting to seduce Noah for their shared business. That realization ignited a new flame within me. This wasn't just about revenge anymore. I had to protect what was left of my life. Yet, with every piece of evidence I collected, I found myself at war with my conscience. Was I becoming the very monster I despised? The questions haunted me, and I wrestled with the darkness that threatened to swallow me whole. In those quiet moments of reflection, I realized that my journey would not just be about revenge. It would be about reclaiming my dignity, finding my strength, and ultimately, discovering who I really was in the wake of betrayal. I took a deep breath, feeling the weight of my choices settle on my shoulders. It was time to confront the truth, no matter where it led me. Weeks passed since that day. The pain of finding Noah and Anya together lingered in my heart like a dark cloud. Each night I tossed and turned, unable to find peace. I lay awake, my thoughts racing, and anger simmering just below the surface. I had to do something. I could not just sit and suffer in silence. I stared at my phone one evening, feeling a strange mix of determination and dread. I decided to start collecting evidence. I thought, maybe if I gather enough proof, I can confront them. I can show them that I know. I began by watching Noah closely. I took notes on his routines, the places he visited, and the times he stayed out late. One night, I drove past his office. I spotted him laughing with Anya outside a cafe. My heart twisted painfully at the sight. I muttered under my breath, "How could you do this to me, Noah?" The next day, I found myself sitting in my car, parked near a popular restaurant where they often met. I felt like a spy, hiding in the shadows. My heart raced as I watched them through the window. They looked so happy together, their laughter ringing in my ears like a cruel joke. I felt a small sense of satisfaction when I snapped a photo of them. Each click of the camera felt like a small victory, but along with it, I felt a gnawing guilt. I was becoming someone I didn't recognize. "Is this really who I want to be?" I whispered to myself, gripping the steering wheel tightly. That night, I sat on my bed, scrolling through the photos. One image stood out. Anya, leaning in close to Noah, a smile on her face that mirrored the one I used to see. My fingers trembled as I remembered the trust I had in her. I thought she was a friend, but now I could see her true colors. I realized Anya had a motive. She had always wanted a piece of Noah's business. The thought hit me hard, and I felt a rush of anger. This isn't just betrayal. It's a plan. "Why would you do this, Anya?" I shouted into the silence of my room. "You were supposed to be my friend." I knew I had to protect what was mine. I began to shift my focus from revenge to protection. I had to warn Noah, but I also knew that confronting him might push him further into Anya's arms. Days turned into nights filled with confusion. I felt a war within myself. The desire for revenge fought against my moral compass, which urged me to be better than this. I often found myself standing in front of the mirror, searching for the woman I used to be. "Am I becoming the monster I despise?" I asked my reflection. But it offered no answers, only silence. One afternoon, I met my friend Clara for coffee. I sat across from her, the weight of my emotions heavy on my chest. "Clara, I don't know what to do," I confessed, tearing up. "I feel so lost. I want to hurt them, but I also want to be better." She looked at me with concern. "Marisabel, it's okay to feel angry, but acting on that anger can lead you down a dark path. You need to think about what you really want." Her words resonated with me. Maybe revenge wasn't the answer. Maybe it was time to focus on healing instead. But the thought of letting them off the hook felt unbearable. As I left the cafe, I felt a flicker of hope mixed with uncertainty. I had to find a way to navigate this darkness without losing myself. In the following days, I continued to gather more evidence, but I also sought clarity. I needed to understand my feelings, to find a balance between protecting myself and staying true to who I was. I stood at a crossroads, knowing that my choices would shape my future. I had to choose wisely, for I could either become a woman of vengeance or one of strength. The choice was mine, and I felt the weight of it heavy on my shoulders. I spent restless nights plotting my next move. Each day felt like a step deeper into a dark game, one where I needed to keep my eyes open and my heart guarded. I had to infiltrate Noah and Anya's lives without them knowing that I was onto their secret. The thought made me feel both powerful and terrified. One morning, as I drank my coffee, I watched Noah leave for work. He looked so carefree, so unaware of the storm brewing inside me. I couldn't help but feel a spark of anger. I needed to turn that anger into something useful. I needed a plan. "Hey, Marisabel!" My friend Clara called from across the street. I forced a smile and waved back. Clara had been my anchor through all this turmoil. I knew she could sense my struggle, but I kept up the facade. "Hi, Clara, just enjoying the morning," I called back, though inside I felt anything but peaceful. Later that day, I decided to create a situation that would get Noah and Anya together without raising suspicion. I thought of inviting both of them to a small gathering at my house. It seemed innocent enough, but it would give me the chance to watch them interact. As I sent out the invitations, I felt a mix of excitement and dread. I needed to keep my cool, no matter how hard it would be to see them together. I texted Noah, "Hey, I'm having a few friends over this Friday. Would love for you and Anya to come." His quick reply brought a smile to my face, but it felt bitter. "Sounds great. We'll be there." The day of the gathering arrived, and I spent hours preparing. I wanted everything to be perfect. The house was filled with soft music and the smell of fresh food. As guests started to arrive, I did my best to appear calm and happy. When Noah and Anya walked in, my heart raced. They looked like the perfect couple, laughing and sharing jokes. I forced myself to be friendly. "So glad you could make it," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course! Wouldn't miss it for the world," Noah replied, his smile bright. Anya chimed in, "It's always nice to hang out with you, Marissa-Belle." Her words dripped with a sweetness I found hard to swallow. As the night unfolded, I played the role of the perfect hostess while keeping a close eye on their interactions. Each laugh they shared felt like a dagger to my heart. But I also noticed something else. A flicker of tension between them, a slight hesitation in their touches. At one point, I caught Anya looking at Noah with a mixture of admiration and something else. Fear, perhaps? It was strange to see. I felt a wave of empathy wash over me, but I quickly pushed it aside. They were both trapped in their own web of lies, and I was determined to expose it. "Hey, Noah, do you remember that trip we took to the beach last summer?" I asked, trying to steer the conversation. "Of course, that was such a fun time," he replied, his eyes lighting up. Anya looked at him, her expression shifting. "Yeah, I remember hearing all about that. Sounds like a blast." Something in her tone made me uneasy. It was like she was trying too hard to fit in, to seem casual. I felt a sense of satisfaction mixed with curiosity. What else was going on behind the scenes? The night went on, and as I watched them, I felt my resolve strengthening. This was a dangerous game, but I was ready to play. I had to keep my emotions in check while I gathered more information. The stakes were high, and I could not afford to lose myself in the process. As the evening drew to a close, I walked Noah and Anya to the door. "Thank you for coming. I had a great time," I said, forcing another smile. "Thanks for hosting, Marissa-Belle. We should do this more often," Noah replied, wrapping an arm around Anya. I nodded, my heart heavy. "Definitely. We'll make it a regular thing." As they left, I felt a mix of triumph and despair. Each step I took in this game brought me closer to the truth. But at what cost? I had started this journey for revenge, but now I wondered if I was losing myself along the way. The day I had been planning for weeks finally arrived. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my dress for what felt like the 100th time. My hands shook slightly as I applied a touch of lipstick, but I knew I had to keep it together. Today was not just any day. It was the day I would confront Noah and Anya. I had invited our closest friends and family to a gathering under the guise of celebrating a recent success in my career. Little did they know, it would turn into a revelation of betrayal. As the guests arrived, I felt my heart race. I greeted everyone with a smile, but inside a storm was brewing. I caught sight of Noah as he walked in, his face lighting up when he saw me. "Marissa-Belle, you look amazing," he exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with pride. "Thanks, Noah," I replied, forcing my smile to stay in place. "I'm glad you could make it." He didn't seem to notice the tension in my voice. He was too busy chatting with our friends, completely unaware of the truth I was about to unleash. Anya arrived a little later, her laughter echoing in the room as she hugged Noah tightly. The sight of them together twisted my stomach in knots, but I pushed those feelings aside. After a while, I gathered everyone in the living room. My heart pounded like a drum as I prepared to speak. "Thank you all for coming tonight," I began, my voice steady, though my insides felt like jelly. I wanted to share something important, something that involves all of us. Curiosity filled the room. Noah looked at me, his smile fading slightly. Anya's eyes darted between us, confusion written all over her face. I took a deep breath, gathering my courage. What I am about to reveal will change everything. I pulled out my phone, my hands trembling as I clicked through the photos and messages I had collected over the past weeks. Noah, you remember this? I said, showing them a picture of him and Anya together at a cafe. And this? I continued, revealing messages that showed their secret exchanges. Gasps filled the room. People looked at each other in shock, their faces pale. Marisabel, wait! This isn't what it looks like, Noah said, his voice rising in panic. Not what it looks like, I shot back, my anger bubbling to the surface. You were supposed to be my husband, Noah, my partner. How could you betray me like this? Anya stepped forward, her expression shifting from shock to defiance. Marisabel, I didn't mean for it to happen this way, she said, her voice shaky. You didn't mean for it to happen? I interrupted, my voice growing louder. You planned this. You seduced my husband for your own gain. You two made me the fool. Silence fell over the room, the weight of my words settling in. I could see the disbelief on the faces of our friends and family. Some looked at Noah with disappointment, while others avoided eye contact altogether. A part of me felt a twisted sense of satisfaction, but it was quickly overshadowed by the heaviness in my heart. Noah pleaded, Marisabel, I love you. This was just a mistake. A mistake? I echoed, my voice dripping with sarcasm. You call this a mistake? You destroyed my trust, Noah. You shattered everything we built together. The confrontation forced me to confront not just them, but also my own feelings. I had wanted revenge, but now I felt something different bubbling up inside me. This isn't just about you two, I said, my voice quieter now, almost breaking. It's about me reclaiming my dignity and self-worth. You've both taken so much from me. As I looked around the room, I realized that I needed to let go of the anger. This confrontation was not just about exposing them. It was a step toward healing for myself. I felt tears welling in my eyes, but I blinked them away. Everyone deserves the truth, I said, my voice steadying. This is my truth, and I will not be the victim anymore. With that, I turned away from Noah and Anya, feeling a strange mix of relief and sorrow. I had done what I set out to do, but I knew that the journey ahead would be much more complicated than this moment. I was ready to reclaim my life, no matter how difficult it would be. I stood there, my heart pounding, as the reality of my actions settled in. The room was filled with stunned silence, the kind that hangs heavy in the air after a storm. I had unveiled Noah's betrayal in front of our friends and family, and for a moment, I thought I could feel a sense of victory. But as the shock faded from their faces, I was left with a hollow feeling. What have I done? I whispered to myself, my voice barely rising above the quiet. I turned away from the crowd, seeking refuge in the corner of the room. The laughter and chatter that once filled my home now felt foreign, as if I was watching a scene play out in someone else's life. I could see Noah's face, a mix of shame and anger, and Anya's wide eyes, full of surprise. They never expected me to confront them like this. Marisabel, wait, Noah called as he approached, his voice shaky. I looked up, meeting his gaze. What do you want, Noah? An explanation? To tell me how it happened? He paused, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of guilt in his eyes. I never meant for it to come to this. Stop, I interrupted, holding up my hand. You don't get to explain. You've already said too much by doing what you did. As anger flared inside me again, I realized it was mixed with something else. Sadness. I had thought that exposing his betrayal would ease my pain, but instead, it only deepened it. I had wanted to hurt him, but in doing so, I had also hurt myself. I wandered outside, needing air. The cool breeze brushed against my skin. I sat on the porch steps, my mind racing. What now? I thought. I had achieved my revenge, but what had it really given me? "Hey!" came a soft voice from behind me. It was Sophia, my closest friend. She sat down beside me, her presence comforting. "You okay?" I sighed, shaking my head. I thought I would feel better after confronting them. I thought it would be justice, but now I just feel empty. Sophia nodded, her brow furrowed. "It's normal to feel that way. You've been through a lot. It's okay to grieve what you lost." "But what did I really lose?" I asked, frustration creeping into my voice. "I lost a husband who never truly loved me, and a friend I thought I could trust." She placed a hand on my shoulder. "You lost the life you thought you had, Marisabel. That can hurt more than the people themselves." As I took a deep breath, I began to realize the weight of those words. I had built my life on an illusion, and now that it was shattered, I had to face the truth. "What do I do now?" I whispered, feeling lost again. "You find support. You talk to someone who can help you through this," Sophia suggested gently. "You don't have to do it alone." I nodded slowly, feeling a flicker of hope. Maybe I could learn to rebuild my life from the ashes of betrayal. As I sat there, I thought about the next steps I needed to take. "Maybe I should see a therapist," I murmured. "I need to understand how to move forward." "That's a great idea," Sophia replied. "You deserve to heal and find peace." The thought of seeking help felt daunting, but I knew it was necessary. I had spent so long in pain, letting anger fill my days. It was time to focus on my own well-being. The sun began to set, casting a warm glow around us. I closed my eyes, letting the moment sink in. "I just want to be happy again," I confessed. Sophia smiled softly. "You will be, Marisabel. This is just the beginning of your journey." And for the first time in a long while, I felt a spark of determination. I would not let this betrayal define me. I would seek the support I needed, reclaim my life, and find my peace. As I stepped into my therapist's office for the first time, my heart raced with a mix of fear and hope. Would this really help me? I looked around, taking in the soft colors and the comfortable furniture. It felt safe, yet I was still unsure. "Marisabel?" The therapist's voice pulled me from my thoughts. "I'm Dr. Hayes. Please come in and have a seat." I sat down, feeling the weight of my emotions pressing down on me. I took a deep breath and started to speak. "I don't even know where to begin." Dr. Hayes nodded, her expression encouraging. "Just start with what brought you here." I hesitated, but then I began to share my story. I told her about the day I found Noah and Anya together, the betrayal that shattered my world. "I thought I had a good life," I said, my voice trembling. "But now I feel lost." That feeling is completely valid," she replied gently. "You've gone through a deep hurt. It's important to allow yourself to feel those emotions." I nodded, but letting those feelings out felt like opening a floodgate. I spoke about the anger that burned within me and the desire for revenge that consumed my thoughts. I collected evidence against them. I wanted to hurt them like they hurt me. Dr. Hayes listened attentively. "And how did that make you feel?" "At first it felt good," I admitted. "But then it just turned into this emptiness. It didn't heal anything." "Sometimes we think revenge will bring us peace," she said. "But it often does the opposite. It keeps us tied to the pain." Her words hit me hard. I realized I was still holding on to anger. I wanted to let it go, but how? "Forgiveness is not about them," Dr. Hayes continued. "It's about you. Letting go of anger can free you from the weight you carry." "But how can I forgive them?" I asked, frustration creeping into my voice. "They hurt me so deeply." "Start with understanding," she suggested. What do you think motivated Noah and Anya? What led them to make those choices? As I thought about it, I realized that Anya had her own insecurities, her own struggles. I guess they both had their reasons, I mumbled. But that doesn't excuse what they did. True, Dr. Hayes agreed, but recognizing their humanity can help you heal. It doesn't mean you have to forget, but it can help you let go of the anger. That evening, I met with my friends at a cozy cafe. As we sat around the table, I felt a warmth in their presence. They were my support system. "How are you doing, Marisabel?" Sophia asked, her eyes filled with concern. "I'm trying to heal," I replied, picking at my coffee cup. "I started therapy. It's hard, but I think it's good for me." "That's a brave step," David said, smiling. "You deserve happiness." Their encouragement felt like a balm to my wounds. I shared my struggles with them, how I was trying to understand my emotions without letting them control me. "You're not alone in this," Mia said softly. "We're here for you." I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe I could learn to embrace my emotions instead of hiding from them. I had spent so long letting my anger dictate my actions, but now I wanted to break free. In the following weeks, I continued my therapy sessions. I practiced being vulnerable, allowing myself to feel sadness, anger, and even joy. Dr. Hayes taught me breathing techniques to manage overwhelming emotions. One day, as I talked about my progress, I said, "I'm starting to see that my happiness doesn't depend on what Noah and Anya did. It's about my choices." "Exactly," Dr. Hayes smiled. "You are reclaiming your power." I began to see my journey as a path to self-discovery. I learned to embrace my imperfections and find strength in my vulnerability. Forgiveness was still a work in progress, but I felt lighter each day. As I walked through the park one afternoon, I noticed the beauty around me. The blooming flowers, the laughter of children playing, and the warmth of the sun on my skin. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of peace. I knew the road ahead would not always be easy, but I was ready. I was becoming the resilient woman I always wanted to be, empowered by my choices. I was learning to define my own happiness, and I felt hopeful about the future. Share this story if you believe that healing and forgiveness can lead to a brighter future. Leave a comment about how you found strength in your moments of vulnerability, and subscribe to the channel for more inspiring stories like this.